Hi, we're here to take a look at the corrections for your work on the article International Primary Curriculum. So you had to write your paper, and this is what I saw in terms of the common mistakes that people made in their writing. And here's a sample of something that happens not just in this writing, but in almost a lot of your writings. It's the problem that a lot of people have with verbs. Okay. Um, Improvement is not a verb. Improvement is a noun. And that's something that you have to get your head around as a Japanese person. As a Japanese person, you can take just about any noun and turn it into a verb. You get so confused about that that you think nouns are verbs. They are not in English. In English, only a verb can take that position after can. You can swim. You can go. Improvement is not a noun, so you have to use the noun version. So when you think of the word improvement, okay, in Japanese that's jotatsu, look inside your dictionary and make sure that it is actually a verb. When you look in there, jotatsu is not a verb, it is a noun. Jotatsu suru is a verb. Okay, and then that is what you would put in English. But jotatsu suru, if you translate that, is improve. Jotatsu is improvement. Okay. Now the other problem here is the use of the apostrophe. Children is already a plural. Okay, so putting the apostrophe outside of the S on a plural possessive is something that you do for other words, but this is already a plural form word. So you put the apostrophe, then the S, just as you would say a boy's or Jose's, it would be apostrophe S. So this would be the position that it would take in this particular case. Okay, now let's look at the corrections that you did yourself. Let me read this out. It helps to discover new something. If they discover international, they may change about national thinking and know new world. Okay, well, that's got a lot of mistakes in it, so let me just put the whole change that I made. Okay, and I'm going to try something new here with this sort of pink coloring. The pink colored words are the words that were already there, and I took them out, so you can see that they were just taken out. So not it helps to discover something. I'm sorry, it helps to discover new something. Okay, it helps to discover something. That would be okay. Discover and then a noun object with something, but you want to use the word new. So instead of saying new something, it helps to discover new things. If you want to say something, then you have to put new at the other side of it. Okay, it helps to discover something new. But if you want to talk about plural things, which you should, because you're not talking about just one thing, you're talking about a whole bunch of different things, then you have to put the new in front of things. It helps to discover new things. And something means one thing, but things is better to use because it talks about many things, which is a better idea to use when you're talking about discovering. Now, the next problem, if they discover international, up here, where it says if they discover international. International is an adjective, it is not a noun, and discover needs a noun as its object. So I would say that if you use world after international, you can keep international, and then it would make more sense what you mean about internationalism or the bigger world. But if it's world, then it needs the. So if they discover the international world, they may change about national thinking. Well, I know what that means, what they think about their own country, but that needs a lot of changes in grammar, so they may change their thinking. This thinking, you need to point out whose thinking it is, because you don't know um, if it's their own or if it's somebody else's thinking. So they're thinking about Japan. So when you talk about national thinking, that doesn't mean anything to me as a person who's Canadian. If you're talking about national thinking, even when you're talking to an entire group of only Japanese people, you should be very specific and say they're thinking about Japan and not know the New World, but learn about the New World. That's a better verb to use. Okay? Okay, next one. When I was primary student, I learned only about Japanese in detail. So when you're talking about primary, you're probably talking about, grade 1 to grade 6. We call that primary school. And when you're talking about Japanese, Japanese, if you're talking about Japanese people, then you should say Japanese people. If you're talking about the Japanese language, okay, then you can talk about Japanese like this. But I don't think this person was talking only about the Japanese language. So I changed all of this to this, okay? When I was a primary school student, I learned only about Japan in detail. So primary school, school is a noun, that needs an article, okay? So accountable noun. So when I was a primary school student, I learned only about Japan in detail, okay? Let's keep going. Children can be person who can run anything by themselves. Okay, a lot of problems here in terms of mismatching plurals and singular pointers. Children is plural. So you begin with plural, then you have to stay with plural all the way through. Person is singular. Okay, so that requires, okay, already, oops, I need to get the correct version here. That requires already the change over to people. And children can be people. Be means what you are now. If you're talking about changing, you want to talk about something you will become, okay? Children can become people. And people who can run anything, when you talk about run, you're usually talking about running a business or running a project. I wouldn't use that verb. I'd use something a bit more general, like who can do anything. And self, this also refers to a singular person, so it's better to say themselves. Whoops, themselves. Okay, let's go on to the next point here. When I was in high school student, I experienced that I interact with Swedish elementary school students on Skype. Okay, so here, when you're talking about in, okay, in refers to your position inside a group or inside a physical space. But there's this extra word here, student. So you could probably say, I was a high school student. You could change that. But if I take out student, then the sentence becomes shorter, has completely the same meaning still, and is much more powerful. Instead of keeping it long with a high school student, that's 4 words, I can just go and take out student, then it becomes only 3 words, in high school. And this whole thing about I experience, from there, that problem continues. So let me show you the answer. Okay. When I was in high school, take out students, out, okay, I experienced that I. You don't need this that I, because this I is still in the meaning of this I. You don't need that I, and you don't even need this that, okay? I experienced interacting. You just need this verb to have an object. And if you take interact and you turn that into a verbal phrase, okay? So interact is one verb, but you can turn it into a verbal phrase by using the present participle form of it with the ing, then you can just turn it into this. I experienced interacting with Swedish elementary school students on Skype, okay? Let's keep going. There are 3 reasons. Firstly, I think that teaching thinking of international to young children is very good. So again, this whole problem of international. International is an adjective. You can't teach thinking about international. You need to actually have a proper noun after it. Okay, so let me show you this. So that international, let's change that to international thinking. Okay. Firstly, firstly is incorrect. You just need first. You don't need to say firstly. I know that a lot of people and a lot of even native speakers say firstly. That's wrong. You shouldn't say that. It is a very strange way to speak. You don't have to say firstly, secondly, thirdly, fourthly, fifthly. You just have to say first, second, third, fourth, fifth. That's what the whole meaning of first is. It's what's called a cardinal number. Okay, you refer to it as an ordinal number. If you refer to it as an order, okay, you don't need that ly. And then this whole thing of how, I gotta say, the way that the ACAN test has taught some of you to say, well, I have 3 reasons. There are 3 reasons. I really have to recommend that you forget about that. I know that the ACAN taught you that as the best way to make a speech or to write an essay. I got to tell you, it is a really bad way to write an essay. It looks stupid. Number one, the ACAN teaches that to all Japanese people. So all Japanese people start writing this way. And it becomes a cookie cutter. Everybody writes exactly the same way. And in English, we put a lot more emphasis on you having your own style. And two, if you have three reasons, you're going to write them down. And because I can read English, I can see that there are three reasons. You don't need to say there are three reasons. I know there are three reasons because they are on the paper. You don't have to say it. And even in a speech, you don't have to say it. Because if you're going to speak and it's only about a 5-minute speech, I can tell that you have three reasons. You're going to say first, second, third. So you don't need to say, I have three reasons, there are three reasons. Stop saying that. I don't want to see that. Okay, that's really bad writing. So take out firstly, make that first. And I think that teaching thinking, this think thinking, try not to use the same word within a close range of each other. So I changed I changed the first think to I feel. Okay, because thinking has to stay here, international thinking, so you can change feel. Teaching international thinking, not of international, the teaching international thinking to young children is very good. Okay, right, and let's keep going here. This education system is groundbreaking system, but many schools still don't use it. So again, here's another one. Okay, system. Originally up here you had think, thinking. Be careful, we don't like to see that in English, where the word or a similar word is repeated only 2 or 3 more words within the same sentence. It's not good English writing. So here's what I would do. Here's my answer. Let me scoop that up a bit. Okay, this education system is groundbreaking. Now you take out the A. Okay, so take this out. You take out the system because you already have system. You don't have to say system twice. You just say this education system is groundbreaking. Groundbreaking is its own adjective, and you can put that right after the be verb. This system is, okay, and that would be fine. Your sentence is shorter. It doesn't have that repetition. It's a lot more powerful. Okay, next. According to this article, an idea is began in Britain 8 years ago. Then it is taught in more than 1,000 primary schools in 58 countries. Okay, this is a big problem that I have when my students were taught basically to copy what was in the original article. Maybe teachers said, well, it's in the original article, just put it in your own writing because it's the correct way. That amounts basically to plagiarism. You're basically copying what someone wrote and you're putting it in your own writing as if you wrote it. Now, I know that you know that I can see that it's in the article and that you don't mean to say that it's yours, but without quotation marks, without any indication that this is not your own writing, that basically is plagiarism. So in my rules, when you have an article from me that you're supposed to be writing about by yourself, and I'm counting the words, okay, if I find anything more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words in the same sequence from the article, copied in exactly the same way, I'm not going to count those words. And in this case, this person went with 6 here, then in another sequence, another bunch of words, and all of these words that I mark in green, I will take them out of the word count. You will not get counted. You wasted your time writing exactly what was in the article. I want you to come up with original thinking. So don't copy anything out of the article any more than 6 words in a row. If you do that, okay, then I'm going to take it out. And if you copy any more than, you do anything more copying out of the article more than 3 times, if I see like 5 words, a string of 5 words, another string of 5 words, another string of 5 words, that's not 6, but I see it 3 times, I'm going to take those words out. I want you to come up with your own original thinking. So this part here, according to the article, an idea is began. An idea began. You should just take this. You should just take that out. An idea began in Britain. Okay, so that's the whole problem with this person is they were thinking about this. An idea is. Okay, so let's continue here. Next one. So I hope that not only high school, but also elementary school and kindergarten should have new system to teach children well. And number one, don't write in bold. I don't know why this person made all of these words in bold. You don't have to write that in bold. I don't know. I don't know if somebody told you, no, put everything in bold and then it's going to be easier to read. No, it's not. Bold is only for certain parts, important parts that you want to make sure stand out. When you type, I want you to type in regular font letters, okay? So this is wrong. And let me show you the correction that I made, okay? Here we are, copy. There. So I hope that not only high schools, but also elementary schools, okay? Not only high school, no, you want to use that in plural because you're talking about the schools themselves. Also, elementary school and kindergarten should have new systems. Okay, so all of this, these should all be in plural, okay, to teach children well. All right. And last one. In my opinion, I think should adopt the international primary curriculum immediately. It is because, from articles, the international primary curriculum aimed to student to learn individuality. Okay, so here's my answer. Okay, in my opinion, I have no idea what this should has as a subject. They forgot to write the subject. So maybe you mean I, but you know, I can't imagine that you should adopt the international primary curriculum. So I'm assuming that this person is talking about Japan, where the IPC doesn't exist. Okay, now I think Japan should adopt the international primary curriculum. The international primary curriculum should all be in capital I. I made a small mistake here. Capital I. Okay, so that should be capital I, capital P, capital C. Okay, and let's make that, well, we'll just leave it there. Okay, immediately, because it aims. Okay, and again, here there was no subject, and even if there was a subject, it has to be matching to international primary curriculum, which means the pronoun it, which means that this has to be an S. And if I give you a blue mark on any of the verbs that I see having that basic mistake, then your grade is going to go down by quite a bit. Okay, to student to learn, not to student to learn. The international primary curriculum is still the subject within this sentence. So the IPC teaches, students learn, okay, to teach students individuality. All righty. So there you go with that. I'm going to make some changes to the actual documents because I saw a couple of small problems there. Otherwise, thank you very much. Make sure that you watch this video and that you download the correction the correction paper from the Moodle. Okay, thanks very much. Bye bye.